Is this handgun underrated and overlooked? My thoughts next.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, hope that you all have settled in. Call your family, tell your friends, we about to be witnesses, something truly historical. See it just like I called it, you found no one, tell the oracle. Ladies say he's adorable, fellas say he's a warrior. Conan, King Leonidas, you stiffer than arthritis. Such a pain to these rappers, you all deserve you an Oscar. Keep it real, yeah, 100, but most of y'all just some actors. And I started from the bottom, Leviathan or the Kraken, that Greek mythology creature. But I'm the son of a preacher, forgive me for being loving.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Will. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you're having a blessed day wherever you are in your journey. Little shout out to my little brother for doing the intro for me. Has a little 70s feel to it. That song is just classic to me, so thank you, sir. If you're watching this video, chances are you already know about this particular handgun and you know about HK as a brand. But maybe you're a new gun owner and don't, have an idea of what HK is about. Right off the bat, this handgun is phenomenal. What I've noticed in everyday, life or on YouTube is this gun seems to be overlooked as far as a viable EDC option. And I'm curious why. In my previous video, I presented some options for cold weather featuring Glock. And in that video, I mentioned my Glock 19 is my favorite firearm in general. That's including rifles and PCCs. The Glock 19 is my favorite. But this handgun is a very, very, very close second. If you're not familiar with HK, they are legendary in the firearm marketplace. They primarily focus on military-grade weapons and militaries around the world, but they have obviously been in the consumer marketplace for years. You've probably heard the term they over-engineer their products, and I'm kind of glad they do, because their firearms work. Their firearms are just simply first class. From the MP5, which is still used today, and I kind of still want that gun. It's just the roller delayed system is just something special. To the MP7, to the G36, to the UMP45, to the USP. The P30, recently shown in John Wick Chapter 1, is a hammer-fired polymer option from HK. It also was the precursor to HK releasing the VP9 at the request of the Bavarian State Police. Prior to the VP9, HK had no striker-fired offerings available. They did, however, have polymer weapons. A lot of people think Glock was the first manufacturer to mass-produce polymer weapons, but it was actually HK when they introduced the P70 or the VP70. This is my VP9 stock. I'm not going to go over specs. You can look them up on YouTube or HK's website. But I actually purchased this firearm from a local retailer, Range USA. It was one of their range rental firearms, so I got it at a steal. It was priced so well I couldn't walk away from it, and I had been looking at the HK VP9 for quite some time, and it just so happened I walked in and I saw it. I'm like, hey, I always browse around their used firearms, and I found it. Regular MSRP on the VP9 is around $750, and I didn't pay that. This one is a pre-2020 version before HK revised it and offered the optics ready version. The size is Euro spec, HK, FN, even the Glock 19X, Glock 45. Quarter slide with a full-size frame. Just to give you an idea, it's somewhere between the Glock 17 and the Glock 19X. And I'll actually show you real quick. We're clear, by the way. As you can see, it's similar to the Glock 19 as far as size. I don't know. It's a little bit longer on the slide, which is closer to the 17, but they're similar. I will say the Glock 19 has a higher round capacity. That's for the pre-2020 version. I'll get to the new versions. 15 rounds, 17 rounds with the flush magazine. So yeah, like I just mentioned, the round capacity is 15 rounds, and I'll just get to it. The newer versions have 17 round mags. They upped the round count, and I'm glad they did that. You can truly customize the grip to your hand, and HK was one of the first manufacturers to offer that. I'm just thinking back, I think they were like one of the first ones. So completely customized to my hand. I have a medium side panel right here and a medium in the back. I believe I've changed it multiple times. Just know it's molded to my hand. So, and it kind of looks like it would be Batman's sidearm. I think a couple YouTubers say that, but it does. It's just a cool looking gun. Of course, I had to make some upgrades. I'm totally into the RDS mode. I prefer red dot optics to iron sights. I have an astigmatism, and I'm left eye dominant, but right-handed. So red dots helped me along the way. They actually have a subcompact version of the VP9, which is the SK. I had that as well, but I traded a buddy of mine for another firearm I won't get into, but I kind of miss it. But it was a 10 round mag capacity, but it had, you could configure the grip any way you wanted. Had that great trigger, which I'll get to, and it just had, the ergonomics and just that look. And I would be lying to you if I said, looks didn't go a long way as far as firearms. Every guy knows you want a sexy gun. So yeah, and I said sexy. This is definitely a good looking piece of machinery. So 2020, HK actually revised the VP9 and came out with the optics ready version on the VP9 and SK as well. Like I said, I bought this at a steal, and I wanted to go with the optic that was reliable, which is Trijicon to me. So I actually got the slide. I checked around, went to HK's website, saw that they offered just a slide that was cut for an optic. It was kind of expensive. No HK products are cheap. Like I said, if you know about HK, you know you're going to get quality, and that's a big reason why they cost so much. I went over to Optics Planet. They actually had a slide available. They don't, give you the barrel and guide rod, which if you already have the non-optics version, you have, so you can just purchase the slide. The slide was around $340, I believe. So went ahead and copped that too. And what I paid at Range USA for this used VP9 was around $450, $475, something like that. With the optics ready slide, I think I paid total $790. MSRP on the optics ready VP9 straight from HK or anywhere else is around $940, $970, somewhere around there. So I made out good, I saved some money. I didn't pay full retail. I have two slides, so if I don't want to carry an optic, I can just convert it. And so I have two slides, but this is my preferred configuration. And as you can see, I have the Trijicon SRO and a Streamlight TLR7A. I prefer the A just because it matches up with the end of the slide. I know you're gonna say, well, Will, you got a Surefire on the end of the Glock 19. Yeah, it's just something about this look to me, so that's why I chose the TLR7A. The Trijicon SRO, and I have a funny story about the SRO. In my previous video, I mentioned I did an RDS course with Sage Dynamics, Aaron Cowan, last year, and it was suggested that we bring two firearms. My primary handgun that I wanted to use was a Glock 17. I had an SRO mounted on it, and I also brought this VP9, and at the time I had an RMR Type 2 mounted on it. 50 rounds into firing, or 50 rounds in, my SRO kept flickering, and all the guys around me that were taking the course were like, man, something's going on with your SRO, and they offered me batteries, and it got so bad, Aaron Cowan even came over and looked at it. He was like, yeah, you might want to warranty that with Trijicon. So that's what I did. Long story short, they ended up sending me a brand new SRO. So yeah, and at the same time, I got an Aimpoint Acro P2, so I just put it on my Glock 17 and moved my SRO onto the VP9. So this is where it's lived ever since I got it back from Trijicon. I love it. I really do. I just love the aesthetic of it. I just love the look. This is a fantastic optic. It's not as durable as the RMR or Aimpoint because of the design of it. It works with the VP9. The shooting impulse for the VP9 differs from Glock. I'll just use Glock because they're the most popular, it seems. Glock 19, Glock 17. The impulse is a little different. As you can see in my stock footage with the stock VP9, the impulse is a little snappy, not as snappy as a Glock 19 with no accessories mounted, but it's kind of a push. When you add accessories like this Streamlight TLR7A or Trijicon RMR, you get pretty much no recoil. And I'll go ahead and show you some footage of the shooting experience with the SRO and Streamlight on. As you can see, it's a flat shooter. You don't have to add a comp or anything or change the spring or guide rod. It's engineered. If you have a proper grip, proper technique, proper trigger control, that firearm is not moving. That's why I'm so puzzled why this thing is so overlooked and underrated, because like I said, I know it might sound like blasphemous, and don't get me wrong, my Glock 19 is my favorite firearm just due to its reliability and durability and ease of use. But this, if it wasn't as big, this would probably be #1 as far as my EDC. Let's talk about this trigger. And all of these firearms are clear that I'm showing in the background, and they're clear. So, and one more time, just so you won't be sensitive. This trigger, and if you shot a Glock, they can be spongy. Luckily with my Glocks, all of my triggers seem to be okay. None of them are that spongy, and I shoot them a lot. So my Glock 17 probably has the best trigger because I shot it the most. Here's the wall. I'm not sure if you can see it. Let's see again. Here's the wall. Break. Reset is kind of long, but you're right on that wall and it breaks. This trigger, and I don't mean to flag you, this trigger is awesome. It's not quite 1911, and nothing really is as far as striker fire, but it's among the best. I would say if you shot a CZP10C or the Walther PDP, I actually prefer this trigger over the PDP, but that CZP10C probably has the best trigger. I'm not a trigger snob, so I just wanted to point this out. This has a phenomenal trigger. So why do I believe this firearm, this VP9, is underrated and overlooked? The biggest reason I believe is because of the price. If you look at offerings from Glock, SIG, Smith & Wesson, Canic, you can get in the door around $550 for most offerings from those particular manufacturers. With this one, the stock configuration is $750, and the optics ready is $950, $970, something like that. So it's expensive, but you get what you pay for. This quality, and you can just tell by the tolerances. And in most Glocks, you see that little, there's a lot of opening with it. This is a tight tolerance gun, but it shoots fantastic. It's a definite shooter. So that's the biggest reason I think it's overlooked, is just the price. With Glock and SIG and Smith & Wesson, they kind of took over the market, and so guns like this and the P10C often get overlooked. I would highly recommend you trying out, if your local range has one of these available, renting it, just shooting just to see what you think. Will it overtake my Glock 19? No, but it's knocking on the door. In my previous video, I mentioned, I'll carry just one. I'll try to stick to 1 or 2 EDC options this winter for cold weather. The Glock 19 was one. I didn't want to say it in the Glock video, but this is number 2. Glock 17 will probably be number 3. It's just a phenomenal, fantastic firearm, and you won't be disappointed. I suggest you try it. That being said, as I mentioned before, just go out and train. Train with your firearms. You never know what threat might hit you. This world is getting crazier and crazier. But I'm an absolute 2A advocate, and I feel like everyone in this country has the right to bear arms to protect not only themselves, but to protect others. The Second Amendment should never be politicized. This is our God-given right. So go out and train. Curious to hear your opinions on why you think the VP9 is overlooked today. Jump in the comments and let me know. Until next time.